Hey everyone. So we live in a world that's constantly telling us our value is based on what we do, right? On our achievements, our productivity. But what if there's a totally different blueprint for what it means to be human? Today, we're going to dive into a really foundational text from the book of Genesis to see what it says about our identity, our mission, and what might be the most surprising goal of all: rest. Okay, let's jump right in with a verse that really sets the stage for everything. The sources we're looking at all point to this moment as the absolute peak of the creation story, kind of like the grand finale. So, our first stop is exploring why the creation of humanity is described in a way that's so completely different from everything else that came before it. There's a reason for that shift. And you can really see that shift right here. Look, for the animals, it's a powerful but straightforward command: let there be. But when it comes to humanity, the whole narrative just pauses. The language changes to let us make. The sources say this isn't just another command. It's more like a divine huddle, a deliberate personal counsel, which signals that what's coming next is on a whole other level. And this totally unique creation is made from a very specific blueprint, being made in God's image. You'll hear this called the Imago Dei. So what does that actually mean? Well, one thing the sources are super clear on is that this has nothing to do with physical looks. It's not about what we look like. Instead, you can think of it as having three distinct, but totally interconnected parts of our core design. And this is a great way to see it. The image isn't just one thing. First, we're personal beings. We have minds, feelings, a will, all the things needed to actually have a relationship with God. Second, we're relational. We're designed for community, not to be isolated. And third, we're representative beings, created to act like God's ambassadors or caretakers here on earth. Now, this is so important, right? It's all about balance. The text says we're made in God's likeness. This gives us incredible dignity and value, but it also defines our role. We're the reflection, not the original source of light. We are, as the sources put it, glorious, but also dependent beings. Okay, so if that's who we are, then what are we supposed to do? Let's look at the specific mission that's given to these unique image bearers, because it flows directly out of that identity. So, right after being created, humanity gets this job description. It's often called the cultural mandate. It's basically a commission to cultivate the world, fill it with more of God's image bearers, and to oversee all of creation. I know, those words, rule and subdue, can sound pretty harsh to us today. It almost sounds like a license to just exploit everything, right? But the sources are really insistent that the original meaning is something totally different. Yeah, so instead of some kind of oppressive domination, the text is actually pointing to a responsible, caring stewardship. Think less like a tyrant and way more like a dedicated gardener tending their garden or a shepherd carefully watching over their flock. It's about bringing out the best in creation, helping it flourish. So this just completely flips the script, doesn't it? Our mission isn't about having power over nature. It's a calling to serve within it, to reflect the care and character of the Creator. It's really a leadership of service. All right, so we've got the identity and we've got the mission. But where is all this heading? What's the ultimate goal of this whole design? And this is where the sources make a really fascinating point. The creation story doesn't actually end with humanity on day 6. It climaxes on day 7, with God's rest. Now, this isn't rest because God was tired. It's the rest of completion. It's like an artist finally stepping back to just enjoy their finished, perfect masterpiece. This idea, this Sabbath rest, is presented as the very purpose of everything. It's not just about stopping work. It's about entering a state of perfect peace, harmony, and relationship that the whole blueprint was designed for in the first place. Which, of course, brings up a huge question. If we were designed for this kind of deep, peaceful rest, why does it feel like the one thing we can never seem to find? Why is life so often characterized by striving and anxiety instead? Well, according to the sources, that constant struggle comes from a fracture, a break in that original foundational relationship with God. That broken connection distorted the divine image in us, and as a result, it shattered our ability to experience true rest. And so we strive, right? We try to build our own value based on our accomplishments instead of resting in who we were made to be. And this is where the story pivots toward a solution. The sources point to the words of Jesus, who comes on the scene offering a totally different kind of rest. not one you have to earn, but one that's a gift.
So, the crucial point here is that this ancient text tells a grand story in three parts: design, disruption, and finally, restoration. Jesus is presented as the perfect, undiluted image of God, the one through whom that original blueprint for humanity and our access to that true, deep rest can finally be restored.
And that leaves us with something to really think about. In a world that is shouting at us to perform and produce, this ancient blueprint challenges us with a simple question. Where are you getting your sense of value? Is it based on what you achieve, or on the incredible dignity of who you were created to be from the very beginning?